Meghan Markle's failed plan to bag a billionaire as her marriage to Prince Harry.
Dubai didn't slam the door. It didn't shout. It didn't need to. It simply whispered no, and the silence was louder than any scandal Meghan Markle has ever faced. Once praised as the glittering playground of the global elite, the City of Gold delivered what insiders are calling a calculated, ice-cold rebuke. No flashing headlines at the airport, no dramatic confrontation, just a quiet pause, a private room, a review, and then a decision that sent shockwaves through palatial halls and royal corridors alike. Entry denied. And just like that, the woman who once walked behind velvet ropes under cathedral arches was reportedly escorted back onto a return flight, leaving Dubai almost as quietly as she arrived. For the city, it was routine. For Meghan, it was humiliation wrapped in protocol. The irony? This was supposed to be effortless. Early February 2026. A low-profile visit, no red carpets, no screaming photographers. Just the smooth, discreet treatment often extended to high-profile figures whose presence aligns neatly with the nation's carefully curated image. That was the expectation. Instead, she encountered frost. Dubai doesn't do public drama. It operates in controlled elegance. Decisions are made behind closed doors. Messages are delivered without noise. And when those doors close, they close without explanation. No official statement, no public reasoning, no apology. Just silence, and that silence became the story. Observers weren't stunned that immigration officials exercised discretion. Under United Arab Emirates law, entry is not guaranteed, not even for the famous. Governments deny access quietly all the time, especially when reputational or strategic concerns flicker in the background. What stunned the world was what allegedly happened next. Instead of immediately turning to American diplomatic channels, the standard path for a U.S. citizen, Meghan reportedly reached for British royal connections. And that single move transformed a quiet border issue into something radioactive. After years of carefully distancing herself from the monarchy, after interviews that scorched palace walls, after redefining herself as independent and untethered, why reach back? Critics began whispering, was royal identity still being treated as a safety net? As leverage? As a backstage pass that could be flashed in emergencies? For a city like Dubai, where clarity of hierarchy and protocol matters deeply, this blurred line was combustible. Royal adjacent, private citizen, independent brand, former duchess? Dubai prefers clean definitions, not gray areas. And so it said nothing, but its silence screamed. Social media erupted, commentators split into camps. Some framed it as a calculated insult. Others saw it as a geopolitical message wrapped in velvet gloves. Supporters questioned fairness. Critics dragged out years of controversy, interviews, strained relationships, public grievances, deals that shimmered brightly and then dimmed. Every observer projected meaning onto the same quiet act. And suddenly, the woman who once symbolized reinvention became the center of a conversation about limits. Fame, it turns out, does not guarantee access. Influence has borders. And sometimes, even glittering cities say no. But if Dubai's refusal was sharp, what came next from London was surgical. Within 24 hours, Buckingham Palace broke its silence. Not with fury, not with drama, but with a blade disguised as brevity. A short, carefully worded statement attributed to Prince William landed like a gavel. No leaks, no anonymous insiders, no theatrics. Just a line drawn. Meghan Markle does not speak for the British crown. Not now. Not in any situation, not under any circumstances. Royal watchers immediately understood the weight of those words. This was not clarification. This was severance. Marriage to a prince? Irrelevant. Mother to royal children? Personal, not institutional. Former duchess title? Historical, not functional. No diplomatic authority, no representation, no institutional shield. If assistance were needed, it would come from standard United States consular services. Nothing more. In one restrained paragraph, years of lingering ambiguity evaporated. Since 2020, a strange fog had hovered. The Sussexes stepped away from royal duties, but titles lingered. Language shifted, but echoes remained. Official roles were retired, but symbolic ties flickered through interviews, branding, and global appearances. Was she still royal adjacent? Did her words carry unspoken institutional gravity? Could the crown be dragged into matters through association alone? The palace had avoided answering. Until now. Behind the scenes, reports suggest Princess Anne reinforced the stance with quiet steel. Known for her uncompromising respect for constitutional lines, she reportedly ensured diplomatic channels echoed the message. Royal affiliation cannot be used as leverage. Not for business, not for branding, not for narrative positioning. It wasn't retaliation, it was containment. The monarchy survives on clarity. Blurred lines are threats. And in a world where neutrality is sacred, ambiguity is dangerous. The palace didn't attack. It didn't accuse, it didn't revisit old wounds, it simply closed the door that had been left slightly ajar, and that closure was final. For years, speculation swirled about reconciliation, residual influence, possible return arcs. This moment sliced through those fantasies. Administrative, constitutional, definitive. And while London was drawing lines, analysts began looking at the bigger picture, the slow erosion of Meghan's post-royal glow. Once, her rebranding felt unstoppable. Empowerment, reinvention, speaking truth to power, a new archetype of celebrity fused with purpose. But over the past 2 years, something shifted. Major partnerships cooled, high-profile deals quietly reduced scope or evaporated. Projects once trumpeted as revolutionary stalled without explanation. None of this unusual in entertainment, but patterns raise eyebrows. When multiple doors close at once, whispers begin. Charitable structures linked to her name reportedly attracted regulatory scrutiny in both the US and the UK. Not criminal allegations, but in elite circles, even routine compliance questions create discomfort. Then old staff complaints resurfaced. Past criticisms re-entered the news cycle. Social media amplified every rumor, every negative interpretation, every stray comment. Fair or not, perception hardened. And perception in high-level branding is oxygen. Reputation strategists often say instability, not scandal, is the true killer of influence. Institutions can manage controversy. They cannot manage unpredictability. Dubai, many analysts argue, wasn't judging character. It was assessing risk. Will this association strengthen our image or complicate it? In regions where stability is currency, uncertainty is expensive. One golf commentator summarized it brutally. This wasn't about celebrity, it was about stability. And that sentence stung. Because if Dubai's refusal was strategic rather than personal, then the humiliation wasn't emotional, it was calculated. A recalibration. And that recalibration exposed something deeper. Influence without institutional backing is fragile. Prestige without predictability fades quickly. But beyond the headlines and diplomatic signals, another question began to surface, one far more intimate. What did this moment reveal about her marriage? Prince Harry once stood shoulder to shoulder with Meghan, presenting a united front against the machinery of monarchy. Together, they walked away, seeking autonomy and control. Now, insiders describe something quieter, not betrayal, not scandal, drift. Harry, they say, looks tired, emotionally worn. Years of public conflict, interviews, litigation, and reinvention have carved visible lines. Some observers believe he craves stability, privacy, a quieter life. Meghan, by contrast, appears relentless, still pushing forward, new platforms, new spaces, new influence. Retreat is not her instinct, momentum is. Dubai was reportedly part of that forward drive, a calculated expansion into a global luxury arena ripe with opportunity. But reports suggest Harry was not deeply involved in planning the trip. His silence afterward was deafening. To royal watchers, it didn't read as solidarity. It read as distance, not defiance, detachment. And behind closed doors, financial realities reportedly add pressure. High-profile deals haven't always delivered as expected. The lifestyle they maintain requires constant visibility and income. These are the kinds of stressors that test even the strongest unions. What once looked like an unbreakable alliance now appears, at least to outside observers, like two people navigating the same storm with different instincts. Harry inward-looking, cautious, exhausted. Meghan outward-facing, ambitious, unyielding. Two visions, one collision course. And as pressure mounts, the question isn't just about branding or diplomacy anymore, it's about alignment. Because when shared purpose fractures, even love struggles under the weight. Dubai's refusal may have lasted minutes, the consequences may last years. And if this was merely a border decision, it became something far bigger, a verdict on authority. Titles are not passports, history is not a guarantee. And symbolic power survives only as long as institutions agree to recognize it. When recognition is withdrawn, the symbol dims. Critics argue Meghan misread this reality, believing royal identity could be stepped away from and later repurposed. But the crown is not a reusable brand asset. It is a structure with rules. Once royal, always royal? Not quite. Dubai's silence and Buckingham Palace's distance aligned with chilling synchronicity. Two vastly different systems, monarchy and marketplace, delivered the same message. Access is conditional, influence is rented, and prestige without duty evaporates. The world did not react emotionally. It reacted strategically. It recalculated. And that recalculation exposed a brutal truth. The world does not chase indefinitely. It assesses. It measures risk. And sometimes it closes the door without raising its voice. Because beneath the headlines, beneath the speculation, beneath the bruised pride in online debates, there is a deeper current running through this entire saga: power, legitimacy, and who truly controls the narrative. At the center of it all is a lesson about modern influence that many celebrities, and even former royals, learn the hard way. Power today is not owned. It is granted. And it can be revoked. For years, Meghan operated in a space that felt uniquely powerful. She was not fully inside the monarchy, yet not fully outside its aura. She carried the Duchess title socially. She carried the royal story commercially. She carried the global spotlight symbolically. That gray area created leverage. But gray areas only work when institutions tolerate them. Dubai did not tolerate it. Buckingham Palace did not tolerate it. And when two very different systems, a Gulf power hub and the British monarchy, arrive at the same conclusion within 24 hours, observers stop calling it coincidence. They start calling it alignment. Critics argue that Meghan may have believed royal identity functioned like a permanent credential, something that could be stepped away from operationally, but never truly stripped of influence. A brand asset that could be activated strategically when useful. But institutions do not operate emotionally. They operate structurally. The monarchy is not a lifestyle accessory. It is the constitutional framework. And Dubai is not a celebrity playground. It is a meticulously managed global brand. In elite diplomacy, uncertainty is more dangerous than scandal. You can manage controversy. You can spin headlines. You cannot manage unpredictability. By early 2026, that unpredictability had become the whisper trailing Meghan's name. Projects announced loudly and then quietly scaled back. Partnerships that shimmered brightly and then cooled. Public narratives that shifted tone repeatedly. None individually catastrophic, but collectively unsettling. Luxury hubs, global investors, ruling families, they do not gamble casually on unsettled narratives. So when Dubai assessed, it likely asked brutally simple questions. Does this association bring stability? Does it bring clarity? Does it bring predictable value? If the answer is not confidently yes, the answer becomes no. And that no was delivered in the most Dubai way possible: silent, controlled, final. But beyond branding and diplomacy, whispers began probing something even more combustible: the UK-WA relationship. Could Dubai have acted with subtle approval from London? Was there quiet coordination? Or was it merely overlapping interests? Officially, there is no evidence of conspiracy, but the historical context makes the speculation irresistible. The ties between the United Kingdom and the United Arab Emirates are not superficial. They are layered, personal, decades deep. At the heart of that connection were two monumental figures, Queen Elizabeth II and Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. Their bond laid foundations that transcended treaties. Queen Elizabeth visited the Emirates in 1979 and again in 2010, reinforcing a relationship that insiders describe as unusually personal between ruling families. These were not hollow ceremonial gestures. They were strategic affirmations of trust. Over decades, bonds formed not only between governments, but between royal households. That context matters, because when Buckingham Palace draws a line and Dubai independently enforces its own boundaries, it reinforces the appearance of shared clarity, not conspiracy, but mutual understanding. The monarchy protects its neutrality, Dubai protects its stability. Their interests overlap naturally, which leads to the question that lingers like perfume in a closed room. Was this humiliation planned? There is no proof of coordination. But in geopolitics, direct coordination is rarely necessary when values align. Dubai does not need London's permission to deny entry, and London does not need Dubai's instruction to distance itself. They simply operate within similar frameworks of discipline, and discipline is what this episode radiated: calm, measured, decisive. No screaming headlines from official sources. No retaliatory briefings. Just a slow withdrawal of access. Invitations reportedly cooled. Associations allegedly paused. Silence did the heavy lifting. And then came the verdict that truly stings, not from governments, but from strategists. A senior media consultant summarized the moment with cutting bluntness. She thought leaving the palace would make the world chase her. Instead, the world watched and recalculated. Recalculation. That word hangs heavy. Because recalculation is not emotional, it is analytical. It means value was assessed, risk measured, and conclusions drawn. The world did not erupt in sympathy, it dissected. Did Meghan receive support? Of course. Loyal followers framed the moment as unfair, even humiliating. They argued that immigration discretion is opaque and that high-profile figures often face unpredictable treatment. But broader sentiment felt cooler. Instead of outrage, there was curiosity. Instead of fury, there was analysis. Why did she allegedly reach for royal ties? Why did the palace shut that door so firmly? Why did Dubai remain unmoved? Public sympathy thrives when someone appears powerless against injustice. This moment did not read as injustice. It read as miscalculation. And miscalculations generate scrutiny, not sympathy. The harshest lesson emerging from the Dubai episode is not about rejection. It is about expired authority. Symbolic power functions only when institutions renew recognition. Once renewal stops, the symbol dims. Titles do not function like personal property. They function like contracts. When the terms change, the benefits shift. Meghan stepped away from royal duty in 2020. For years, a faint aura lingered. Ambiguous, flexible, usable. Dubai and Buckingham Palace just clarified that the aura no longer carries operational weight. That clarification may be the most painful blow of all, because humiliation fades, narratives evolve, but structural reality remains. And structural reality says prestige without institutional backing is fragile. This does not mean Meghan disappears. She remains globally recognized, financially positioned, and culturally relevant. But the terrain has changed. Where once she operated in a space of royal-adjacent mystique, she now stands fully as a private brand. Private brands must deliver consistently. They must manage risk meticulously. They must reassure partners continuously. They do not enjoy diplomatic ambiguity. And that may be the real shift. The Dubai moment was not a dramatic public meltdown. It was not a screaming scandal. It was a quiet recalibration of status. A reminder that in elite spaces, whether royal courts or Gulf power corridors, authority is carefully defined, not assumed. As for her marriage, if insiders are correct that Harry craves retreat while Meghan pushes forward, this recalibration only intensifies the internal tension. One partner perhaps longing for invisibility, the other unwilling to surrender visibility. That divergence, more than any border decision, could shape the next chapter. Because while governments withdraw access politely, marriages must negotiate privately, and private negotiations are rarely quiet. In the end, Dubai did not need to embarrass her publicly. It did not need to explain itself. It did not need to justify its choice. Its silence was the message. Buckingham Palace did not need to scold. It did not need to accuse. It did not need to reopen old wounds. Its clarity was the message. Two systems, two quiet decisions, one undeniable signal. Influence is conditional. Recognition is revocable. And doors, even gilded ones, do not open simply because someone once walked through them. The world is not chasing, it is watching, and recalculating, and recalculating, and recalculating, and recalculating, and recalculating.